Okay, here we are, Black Friday, with lots of new stream adjustments. Had some very good feedback last stream from new listeners. Historical listeners doesn't sound good. Um, Long tenured, fantastic viewers. I've been stuck at 10 plus viewers, 10-ish viewers every stream. So I've been trying to figure out what we can do, what's not working. So a couple things that we've changed. We've added a better description down below. Got some feedback from a new viewer that dedicated listeners. Yeah, that's much better, Lori Blue. See, this is why you guys are here, to keep me straightened out. So things I've added, reworked all of the sections below, added an about section. We had a new listener drop in and wasn't really sure what was going on, so tried to add a little bit of detail there. I am keeping track of topics, and we're going to take 30-second breaks with ads. Those ads, good point, Lori. Those ads will prevent pre-roll, because I get frustrated when I go into a channel I've never been to and I have to sit and wait for 30 seconds or whatever. In those commercial breaks, I'll be prepping for a recap, because not everybody can start right at 11. So we'll be covering that. And as I believe it was Scrum Sarge mentioned, we seem to do better when there's an initial topic. So that way people have some sort of context about what we're going to talk about. So that's where we are. Made a bunch of those changes. We'll see how it goes over the coming month or so. Should be interesting as the holidays roll in. Twitch sent something out talking about how this is the time of year where there's many new viewers that come on. So we'll be interested to see if our numbers can go up here in the next month or so. We'll see how these changes go. Okay, so the initial topic, stealing from Black Friday, because that's today, is cheap agile. And signs you should look for to know that an organization really isn't invested in agile. So think about, maybe you get a great deal on that new TV or that new whatever you're excited about. You don't buy the name brand that you want because it was cheaper to get brand X. So you saved a couple $100. You got something that was cheaper, but in the end, your product wasn't as good. So I want to talk about how that happens in the agile world as people try and implement their own flavor of agile. The number one thing to look for are ands and buts. What I mean by that is, as people start to describe their implementation of agile, if they use the word and or the word but often, then there's likely underinvestment there. So typical things where that happens is somebody is a QA engineer and a Scrum Master, or they're an engineer and a product owner. Those are some of the first things where people choose to skimp out and implement cheap agile. Now, the other side is when you're talking to somebody about the implementation of agile. It's like, well, we would do this as the manifesto or as a Scrum guide suggests, but it doesn't really work for us. So we've decided not to do that. Or we would do code reviews, but we don't have a tool. We did do sprint reviews, but no one showed up. So we just decided to stop. We did do retros, but nothing ever changed. So we stopped doing the retro, rather than investing in making it better. That's the issue that people have, is they don't choose to invest. And I'm not going to pretend it's easy. Like investing with your money, that's not easy. It's not easy to make sure that when you retire at age whatever, you have enough cash to support you for the rest of your life. If it was easy, everybody would do it. If agile was easy, everybody would do it, and it would all be peachy. And there wouldn't be podcasts and Twitch streams and books and you name it out there to try and help you make that happen. So that's the That's the cheap agile that often happens. Yes. It's saving money and saving effort. Like, it's cheaper to just say we're not, like, I remember one of the first transformations that I read too. Yes, like Pee Wee Herman. I might be the only one that gets that reference. He's talking to, I forget her name. She wants to go to France in Pee Wee's Big Adventure, the first movie. They're up in the dinosaur talking, and Pee Wee asks her what her big butt is because she couldn't go to Paris. He was saying, "What's the big butt?" And then her boyfriend heard, and it was all kinds of drama. Pee Wee got chased by this very large man and eventually ran away safely. Yeah, the cheap agile, that's the, it's really disheartening the number of places I've been where there is a lack of investment. And I will raise my hand. I, for the longest time, did not invest in Scrum Masters. Huge mistake. I thought I could do it. I was VP and director, and then I was forced into having a Scrum Master and realized the huge mistake that I made. So oftentimes, with the best intentions, a lot of times, again, one of the things I keep going back to is assume people do things with the best intentions. They're not trying to be cheap. Maybe they don't have the budget. They haven't figured out how to get the company to invest. So at that point, the thing not to do is to use ands and buts, but to go figure out how to invest. How can we make this happen? What can we do? What changes can we make? Yeah, I've made that mistake, Lori Blue. It's embarrassing. It's sad. And the reality is that you may not have the cash to go hire these new roles. What I would suggest to do at that point is not just throw your hands up in the air and say, well, we're going to roll like this forever. But start getting creative about how you can find ways to generate new revenue, to get that funding to support you to really go agile in the ways that you'd like. Another common practice is in the product organization. I was talking to somebody about this in the last week or so, that the product organization is often the dumping ground of where someone doesn't fit, but they're smart. Hey, you know what? Let's make them a product owner. Let's make them a BA. Let's make them a whatever. Hey, Snows. We'll go Snows. Thanks for the follow. I see RS Life is in here. Also new to the stream. Welcome. Hope everybody's having a good Black Friday. Weather's pretty good here today. The Christmas light day for me and the boys. That's always interesting. Yeah, that's the thing, Lori Blue, is that we often, we as the royal we, when business practices, put people in the most challenging role of product owner. And they're not really prepared for it. I am from the USA. We do have a couple of listeners. I keep saying listeners. I'm used to my podcast. A couple of viewers in England and one in Australia that often wakes up super early to be a part of the, and a very unusual large contingent of our viewers are from Texas. I can't explain why, but that's a lot of people from Texas. That's why we have this fancy Texas emoji. So, all right, cheap agile. We can keep talking about cheap agile, but one of the things we try and do here is make sure that we answer any questions or frustrations that people may have. So for the new folks, is there anything that you're wrestling with at work with any implementation or anything that you're trying to do where it's just not, hey, speaking of England, Agile Jamie Collins is representing. What challenges do folks have out here? You've got an amazing group of people here that are willing to help. just about any subject. So feel free to jump in. Ask those questions, get some help from England. I mean, imagine how much money you'd have to pay to have a guy fly in from England and help you. And yet, Agile Jamie Collins is here to help. I do not know that phone. I can't help you there. I wouldn't say I'm a phone expert. Yeah, Lori, I think dark scrum is a common practice. Yeah, I think yeah, cheap is about investment of time and energy as well, because it's hard, right? These things are hard. It's not easy to do agile well, and we often cheap out with investing, whether it's cash or effort. I think many of us have seen teams, like one of the first really frustrating moments I had was I was working with a team. This is probably a decade ago. And they came to me and said that they were going to abandon retrospectives. I said, okay, well, why are you going to abandon retrospectives? And their response was, well, nothing ever changes. Like, we come in here and we talk about things, but then nothing ever changes. So I said, okay, well, the problem is not retrospectives. The problem is your response to these retrospectives. You're clearly not doing anything about it. You're just coming in and complaining and then hoping, wishing something's going to magically change with zero effort. So I don't know how you can expect things to change without actually putting in the effort to do that. So Kraz, yeah, to me, it's an investment. Like, you're cheaping out on investing, and there's a lot of things you invest or that are required to be invested to make these things work. And the two primary, most common things where we cheap out are on cash, actually hiring the people to do the job, enabling them to focus, and then teams themselves being unwilling to invest the effort and energy to transform. So that's the challenge. Integration sprints. Yeah, that slow down to speed up is one of those investment decisions of are we willing to invest in the change? And that slowdown isn't that people type slower or they think slower. It's now they are reorganizing the way they operate. So they have these stops and starts. They start to do things the old way, then they catch themselves. Or there's a fantastic agile coach or scrum master that kind of says, hold on, we're not doing it that way. And the interesting thing is that in the end, what is slower is that perceived slowness. It's not that you're actually slower, it's just it's different. You can't go all wild, wild west in your code and make changes quickly. Unvalidated changes, unplanned changes that gives you some initial perceived value, but in the end, it might be wasted effort. Yeah, Lori Blue, I think the biggest thing that I see, people are willing to invest, but they're often unwilling to invest the right amount. So what they'll do is they'll invest in a 1 or 2 day training course and think that's it. that's going to get it done. Or a very common practice. Ooh, there's the timer. Boy, that is really loud. So that's my 15-minute reminder to do a recap, a 30-second commercial while I prepare the recap. I'll finish the thought first though. So one of the more common investment mistakes is they will send one person to get certified as a Scrum Master. And then there's an expectation that that minimal investment is going to come back and get spread throughout the team. I'm not saying that can't work. The likelihood of that working, pretty darn low. And it's low because it's almost not fair to put people in that situation of, we're going to train the trainer, but is that person you're sending really a trainer? Are they really effective at coming in and retraining the entire organization? Probably not. Likelihood of that is relatively low. I mean, there's a reason there are professional trainers. You're doing that and thing that we talked about, where this person is an engineer and I expect them to train the entire team. So there's that challenge. Okay, quick break. Here, I'm going to do a recap. I'm going to hit a 30-second ad break. For those of you that have not and can, hit that subscribe button. It is free. We're going to give some subscriptions away later today. It's free. If you have Twitch Prime, it's free. Hit that button. If you have Amazon Prime, everything's free. And it's fantastic. All right, I'm going to do a little recap here. Those of you that are subscribers, I don't think you see the ads. So you might just see me like staring at the ground while I write things down. I'll see you in 30. Okay. We did our ad. I didn't see it, but there was a countdown timer saying it happened. So hopefully it wasn't too loud or too annoying. But the cool thing is that has disabled pre-roll ads for the next 10 minutes. So anybody that joins doesn't see pre-roll ads. So thank you all for sitting through that for a second. Okay, quick recap. Cheap Agile was the initial topic. Prior to that, I discussed some of the ways I'm trying to not be cheap about this stream. So I received some feedback last week about how to make it better. So I'm investing in making changes. One, we all just sat through, did that 30-second ad break to try and prevent the pre-rolls to make it easier to get in and get some content. I also have added more content down below. If you scroll down, there's an about section, which lets people know why we're here, what we're doing. And I'm trying to be more clear, more consistent with discussion topics. So I'm actually going to edit the stream info. So that label down below where it says initial topic, Cheap Agile. As we start discussing things, I'm going to change that so that way people can see what our topic is. Okay. Yeah, you can mute the noise. That is good. Yeah, I will try not to just spring ads at you. That would be really annoying. Okay, so Cheap Agile, we started talking about that. The initial things that I put on the table were a common smell when you're somewhere and you hear these things. It's an Agile smell. Something's not right. Spider senses should start to go off is when you hear people start to describe implementations with the words and or the word but, as in this person is an engineer and a product owner, or they are a manager and a scrum master. That's a problem, that they're not enabling people to focus and do their one job well. Or they say, we would do this ceremony, but people didn't show up, it was too hard, it wasn't working, blah, blah, blah. So those are the things. Then we started talking about training and how there's a lack of investment in training. Okay, I'm going to catch up on what Kraz said. Totally agree, Kraz. There are, I think Dark Agile is in response to cheap leaders. So that's non-cheap team members, but cheap leaders. Then there's times where it's the opposite, where you get leaders that are willing to invest, but the team is not willing to invest their time, effort, and energy to change things because it's comfortable. Maybe they want to just keep doing things the same way. So they just stay the same. So there are two different types of investment, two different levels, two different areas. I wouldn't say levels. I don't like the word levels. I'm talking about roles. Okay. All right. So what else can we talk about, people? Did everybody get their Christmas shopping done today? Were you done at 11 a.m. because you woke up at 4 a.m. and fought the crowds? I did not. I assure you. I slept in. I'm doing a little bit of gifting research this morning on a few things for the kiddos. Trying to sort out exactly what we do. There's some options. I'm trying to figure out which direction to go. So, okay. We're gonna do this. Let me see. We do have a shopping backlog, as 457. We do. It's a spreadsheet. We have 3 products, aka 3 children. So the backlogs are independent but eventually merged because they are all funded from the same bank account. So there's a bit of a balancing act that goes into that as I try and figure out how to manage. Yeah, we have we've started doing some things. I'm gonna do a little bit more today. But we are not. I think the ladies in the house, grandma, mom, and daughter, are gonna go out shopping at a few places today. But I don't think they have any expectation to go to some of the more crowded locations. I think they're going to like town, some smaller shops there. Let's see. Yes. Okay. So really, nothing. Nobody has anything else. It's perfect. Everybody's done it. Everybody's perfect. No, no problems, no challenges. Well, I think it certainly has a direct impact on sprint goals for the development team in that likelihood of consistency. It's going to be hard to be consistent without investing. It's like a sport. It's going to be hard to be consistently good at the game of golf if you choose not to go practice. If you don't want to put in the practice or the effort to go rework your swing so you stop slicing the ball, then the likelihood that you're going to get better or get at least consistent is pretty darn low. So don't do that to yourself. That is valid. That is common, yeah. Okay, look at all those free subs. Booyah. We did it. You know what, Lori? I think the common thing that I've seen. Yeah, free subs, booyah. Oh no, and that alert, those alerts are. Oh man. Oh, listen, this is what I should not do. I How did I get way over there? I tell you what, friends, I wish this was easier. Yeah, I don't know what fall amnesty is. So you got to educate us. This is probably one of those fancy English things that we don't understand. You got to help us, Jamie. So, Lori, while Agile Jamie Collins gets back to us, I think the thing that's odd is that the more common practice that I've seen in goal setting or um, sprint planning is not under planning or under committing. It's like over committing blindly. Oh, fail amnesty. Fail. Maybe I should read all the letters. All right, we're gonna try these alerts again. There we go. Fix that. I'll roll those through. See if they work. Okay, I think I fixed it. Fail amnesty. Again, that's one of the more common challenges I see, Jamie, is that there's a willingness to support failure, but it's almost this fear from the teams to actually trust that failure is going to be amnestized, if that's a word. Um, will will failure be okay? So there's this fear, and it's undoubtedly due to pre-existing baggage that people have brought with them, likely from the way things were ran before. But there's a fear, almost trying to prove one's worth. All those things that go into that create very common challenging behaviors that teams overplan. So then it becomes this like cycle of failure where they try and plan, they overplan, then they fail because it's like next to impossible to hit that goal. So then they get frustrated. They try and do better by doing more. And then that just, it becomes this death spiral, and it's just terribly painful to watch. Oh, yeah. Baggage is one of those things. Baggage to me is patience on both sides of the house. Removing baggage takes time, a lot of effort, and patience to recognize that you yourself are getting better at removing the baggage, but also patience from the team, the leaders, whatever it may be, to allow that change to happen because it doesn't happen overnight. Lori, I don't think teams will get better without true investment in that effort. It'll take a lot of work to do it, but that's why you hire scrum masters or agile coaches, things like that, to coach them along the way and to encourage them and to support them. All those things have to happen. Those aren't free. Those aren't easy. But that's one of the big challenges that's out there. tell you what, Life, one of the things that I did was I over celebrated failure at one point. I was building out a team, and they were in that cycle that I talked about where there was this fear of failing, this fear that we had to get it absolutely perfect. And that undoubtedly, as expected, led to a lot of failed sprints. They were just beating themselves up. So I started talking through with them, and I showed them one of my favorite Mythbusters clips where they celebrate failure. And we talked about failure is always an option. Well, they took that to heart a little too much and began failing everything and using my own coaching, my own words against me. It said, but Josh, you told us failure was an option. You wanted us to fail. Well, then I had to reset things and say, yes, failure is okay. We should be willing and excited to fail. But at some point, we have to get frustrated with continuing to fail and do something about it. And our goal here is to actually win. Like, we want to win. So that took some time and some retraining, but we got there. Yeah, that's one of those. So Kraz, it all gets down to trust. That's the reason that the very first episode Bob and I did and the Metacast was about trust, because we couldn't think of anything that was more foundational to success. And what I read in your post, Kraz, is that in the end, somebody's not trusting somebody. So they're spending all this money and effort to try and validate things, to make sure something is done a certain way. And that's a poor tone. It just says to the team, like, hey, we don't trust you. People aren't dumb. They see what's going on. They can recognize, validate that you actually don't trust me. So then that, again, that puts all the bad stuff in motion. Yeah. That's another one of those. Uh, cheap is the right, but it's like just, I guess cheap is the right word, because you're unwilling to invest in building that trust, or you're not going to put the effort. Oh, do we have a guest? We do. Okay. Brush your teeth. Everybody say hi, Leia. Leia's going to go brush teeth. Get ready for a big day of shopping. Yes, on days off like this, there's this mad scurry before the stream starts as people try and get all of their daily rituals done, because all the rooms around me are the kids' room. So I'm sprinting in. Say, have you started yet? Say, is it 11 o'clock yet? No. Then they hurry up and do all the things. Okay. So 15 minutes in. Another commercial. Ooh, how do I get back? Oh no, I lost my. No. My buttons go. I did see your fail, Jamie, and yes, you are absolved. Always. We're getting there, I promise. Okay. Quick moment to recap. Some of you may see an ad, some of you may not. I believe anybody with a sub not see an ad. Be back in 30. Here we go. All right. Pre-roll ads are disabled for 10 more minutes. Thank you. All right. Recap. Uh-oh. Fish. Don't forget to turn off that bathroom light while you're at it. We're on this quest to reduce our energy use. Ooh, Mandalorian ad? Big fan of that show. That's been good. If you haven't started watching it, watch that show. Pretty good. Now, yes, I'm a Star Wars fan, so that happens. I suppose by default I enjoy that. I have spoken. So anyways, our energy bill, thank you, Leia. Our energy bill came in a couple months ago, and it came with this chart comparing us, or houses of our size, general location, and we were 50% higher than the average household of our size in our area, and our October usage this year was higher than October usage last year, and it gave this really fantastic breakdown of where that usage was coming from. Lighting was the number one thing, and it talked about you've spent $700 more on energy than you did this year. So I was able to have a interesting conversation with my children and say, just imagine what we could have done with $700 that we just threw away by having lights on when they didn't need it. So, thankfully, they've done a really good job of trying to keep each other in check. So that's been good. Okay, recap as planned. We talked a lot about baggage the last 15 minutes and how that is cheapening out. We do spend energy on streaming. There's going to be more streaming. More on that later. I'll talk about that at the end. How you have to really invest to shed that baggage and build new habits. So that's another example of being cheap and not really investing. We also talked about the two different levels being cheap. There's the dark agile approach where the team really invests, but the rest of the organization is not supporting them. They're not investing in making it a reality. Or there's the vice versa, where leadership, organization is willing to invest, but the team is not willing to invest the energy, effort required to make that transformation. So that's a challenge. Yeah, streaming is going to be more of a thing. Daughter, as you saw, is planning a podcast. So we'll be doing that. We also have bought a domain for us, andersonfamily.gg. So we'll be doing that. The kids will be streaming. Basically, what I've said to them is anytime you're playing video games, you need to be streaming. So we're gonna take that on. See how that goes. I'm gonna spend the winter break getting all of that stood up so that to see how things go. No, let's see. This is what it is. So it's AnFam. I thought it was easier to say that. It's not working yet, but I have the domain. Actually, I bought it last year. You should see the domain I have. Oh. So many domains. But I'm gonna build that out this winter break. Get that rolling. And Kraz, you got a fantastic point as usual. There is the whole minimum viable, the whole lean thing. In fact, I was just talking to a product owner where there was some ambiguity about what the right answer is. So we started talking about what's the cheapest way for us to figure that out? What's the least amount of work we could do? What's the cheapest experiment we could put in place to validate whether answer A or answer B is the best thing? Because both ideas were really good, but we needed to get in front of our customers and understand what the reality is, what the best thing for them is. It's really hard to intuit that. So let's get some feedback. But you don't invest in building both features. There was a lot of discussion about what could we do? What are the things we could put in place to get that validation? So Kraz, as usual, you've got a fantastic point. What is the least work you can do to get that answer? What is the least amount of change? That's one of the things that we talked about. Back in the day, I was heavy on this minimum viable everything, and I still try and work with that. But even from an agile perspective and process ceremonies, if you have some ceremony or some process that's not working, often we talk about, and we over architect things. I don't want to talk about work in progress limits, Lori. We often over engineer the process. So we, as process centric folks dealing with agile, what's the smallest change we can make to our process, to that ceremony, to make sure, or to get that change? Yeah, minimum viable bureaucracy is one of my favorites. I forget where I first heard that. I think it was Spotify. But we also try to have the minimum viable process. Like, what's the least amount of process we could have that would make the change that we seek? Just try and stay focused on that. Because people will inherently over engineer, or with good intent, right? No one's trying to do anything bad. They're not trying to make it harder. They're forecasting scale or forecasting a problem that might never happen. That's one of the biggest challenges. So the work in progress limits for ANFAM, I'm going to do it over the holiday break. Should have some more time to dedicate to that, where I am likely not at some of the other things that are in progress in my life. So that's why I'm trying to tackle that over the winter break, get that rolling for the kids. So we'll see how that goes. Yep. Okay. Anything else, my friends? If there's not, no way. There we go. Yep. We turn it into MVX instead of MVP. And I had this really cool slide for this talk that I built, that it was minimum viable, and it would just cycle through process, bureaucracy, product, architecture, and then it just MVX became the thing where we want minimum viable everything. So that's what we found was most successful for us, was really holding each other accountable. And that's what it took, right? It really took a core group of people holding each other accountable to that MVX standard. Because again, your mind starts going and you start forecasting in your mind where things are going to go, and you try and do the right thing by aligning work or aligning processes or checkpoints or whatever to prevent those things from happening. But it always comes back to the most powerful question is, do we have that problem right now? And if we don't, then let's not spend time on it. So Lori, I have had more trouble in getting the teams to accept reasonable sprint goals than I have middle management, managers, or executives. So I don't, um, and that's, and I speak from my experience because my experience is somebody in a leadership role has hired me to come in and drive this change. And I would not have gone there if that leadership group was not willing to invest the time and the effort to enable that change. To me, Lori, it's all fear based. It's they have this fear that if they don't deliver this maximum whatever, then they're going to be perceived as underperforming. And that often is legacy baggage, like we talked about. You know, like I've been places where they're previously, it is early out there on the West Coast. Good morning, Scrum Sarge. Um, so like places I've been where this common problem I've seen where engineers perceive as they're only valued if their hands are on the keyboard. So there's a lot of work I've had to do a lot of places getting them to understand that building great products, some of the more valuable time is spent with hands off keyboard, discussing how you're going to build the things or the right way to build it. We're talking about your backlog, refining the backlog, doing all of those things. So there's a lot of transformation that has to be happened because they were measured, they were valued, they were rewarded by hands-on keyboard time, hands-on keyboard work, whatever it might be. So you've got to break that cycle and just talk about one of the things I try and do with teams. I talk about what's our role here? What's our job? Our job is to deliver high quality value to our users, to our customers, to the people that are paying us to use our software. That's the job. Are they happy with the value that we're delivering? Is it the right value? Yes, you can have this flurry of work where you're shipping stuff, but do the users care? Do they actually use those things you've built? If not, then you're really not delivering value to your customers and they're going to leave. Yeah, I have not found there to be common challenges with management getting focused on sprint goals. I don't know if it's because I've been able to deflect that or what. Yeah, it's trust is, yep, nailed it, Lori. It's all about building that trust. That's the, hmm. Okay. Well, Scrum Sarge, I think you joined just in time for me to shut it down. I need to go put some trees or some lights on trees. Trees on house. Trees on whatever. Luckily I've got help. Cheap Agile is the topic today, and we didn't get off of it. Well, it's a it's a I go back to sports, right? If it's basketball, you're not going to make every shot. If it's baseball, you're not going to throw a strike on every pitch. You're not going to hit every pitch you swing at. If it's football, you're not going to stop every pass. You're not going to complete every pass. If it's golf, you're not going to get a hole in one on every hole. got to have a little bit of setback in that again, Kraz, that investment in learning. You often cheap agile, there's no investment in learning. Are they getting better? It's harder to quantify. When you're sitting further away, it's harder to quantify that things are getting better. That gets back to Lori's point of trust. Does that leadership group trust you? Do they trust the team? All those things. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to roll. My friends, thank you to everyone for being here. I've got to go get these lights done before my Bearcats play at 3:30 today. That would be 12:30 for you on the West Coast, Scrum Sarge, on ABC. So we got the nationally televised game. That's exciting. Yeah, can you throw that link in, Scrum Sarge, for folks to read after I shut this down? That would be fantastic. And I will see everybody next Friday, same place, same time, same other things. One of the things I'm working with LinkedIn. I found a tool that will allow me to broadcast this on multiple channels. And LinkedIn has a new live video streaming feature that they're in beta with, that I'm hopeful that they're going to let me in. Yep. Discord would help as well. Okay. So we should be getting some more reach across this. See what happens. It should be good. Should be exciting. I thank everyone for coming in today on Black Friday. Enjoy the shopping if you go shopping. If you do go shopping, be safe out there with all the other people and all the other cars. And we'll go from there. All right, everybody. Take care of yourself. Oh, yeah, mobile phones. Yeah. See you, Jamie. See you, everybody.